Let's have fun with our floppies. Hey there, Vince here, and welcome to another Circuit Rewind. In my last video, I talked about the process of backing up floppy disks using flux transition data from the disks, and I went into details on what that means and all that fun stuff, and uploaded a crap load of floppy disks to the Internet Archive, which you can see here. The most important thing, though, is that you can see it. You can see what the disks look like, the labels, all that good fun stuff. And that was what I dreaded most about that entire project. Over a year ago, I worked on another project doing the same thing with a bunch of CDs, which I'm going to get back to since I've increased my CD collection since then. And one of the most tedious, annoying, and hard parts of that entire project was simply scanning in the labels of those CDs. When it came time to do this for the floppies, that is what I dreaded most, because I wanted to make sure I had good quality copies of these labels, but also I wanted to ensure that I had labels of every single floppy disk in a collection. So for instance, DOS 6.22 is 3 floppies, and I wanted to have all 3 of those labels recorded. The reason I wanted to do that, well, for DOS, for instance, may not matter too much, but let's say for the Creative Labs AW32 sound card drivers, each individual floppy disk has a unique part number to it. And having those part numbers means that we can go look them up to see what they are now, having that kind of information documented. And because those part numbers are serially sequential, or I have part number 93, 94, 97, what am I missing in between? What are those disks? Do I need them for my specific use case or not? Because those may be just a specific media program, not necessarily the driver itself. So what I want to show for you today is the process that I use to do the floppy disk imaging of the labels, not the contents. This is entirely different than how I did it for the CDs. And in between those two projects, I found a really cool utility. This software is called VueScan, and it's designed to be basically a small piece of commercial software that works with just about any type of scanning device you can imagine hooked up to a PC. Like in my particular case, I'm using a flatbed scanner. You don't need to worry about the drivers that came with your scanner or any of that kind of stuff. It acts as its own driver. So for those of you that know the old school stuff, dealing with Twain and other tools like that, all that's gone, you don't think about it. You plug in the USB cable for your scanner, you open this program, it works. Like it literally is that simple, and that is their whole selling point. But beyond that, there's a bunch of really cool features that it has that I didn't realize it had until I was working on this project, and I want to show them to you now. All right, so let's get floppy. I have the flatbed scanner here. Let's get that open. And I'm just going to loosely just slap these on here. When I was working on this, I was thinking that I might need to build a jig, 3D printed or something like that, so that way I can keep all the floppies aligned in a particular grid pattern that's consistent across every single scan. And then I can import them into, let's say, a program like Lightroom. I can split out the large image into smaller images for each individual floppy. But this program, it turns out, does it automatically, and it does it in a really cool way. So I'm just going to grab 6 random floppies here. I have DOS 6.21 plus enhanced tools. I have Microsoft Works Disk 1. I'm guessing this is the original Works. I don't know. It doesn't even have a version number on it. Remove It, or Remove IT, I'm not sure. Whatever that is, some cleanup utility. Max Blast, this is actually important for getting hard drives, larger hard drives, to work on BIOSes that don't support them, and that's going to be in a future video. I have a system that this came with and had it pre-installed, and I was really confused on how it worked, but now I know. The original Sound Blaster before the Sound Blaster Pro, one of the driver disks for that, and I think everybody's favorite software of all time, After Dark. And if you don't know After Dark, let's just say flying toasters. That is literally the flying toasters. Now, I'm just kind of loosely placing these on the flatbed here. I'm going to close the flatbed. Like I said, there's no alignment or anything. They're just kind of sitting on there. And now in the software, I'm just going to hit Preview. Right now, this is running with basically all the default options, and I can see that already the floppy disks are rotated. So I'm going to go here to Rotation while it's still scanning and say Left. And now we can actually read most of the labels, not quite all. It automatically detected that there are 6 individual floppy disks on the flatbed right now, and each one is selectable. So I can go between each of these, and if I go to cropped area, I can see where it thinks the floppy is on the flatbed. It's cropping a little bit too much, so what I'm going to do real quick is It doesn't take me long to just grab each of these corners and extend them out just a hair. And this is optional because I already have the complete labels. I just want to have the complete discs too. But more importantly, now let's look at this remove it one. The label on this disc, which is common on maybe 10 to 20% of discs, are actually in the opposite direction. So what's really cool is even though I've already rotated the bed, that sets the default for all 6 images, I can go ahead and rotate just this one image from left to right. And while it rotated everything on the screen, that's just because that's our current preview mode. But if we look over here into the actual individual discs, you can see as I select them, it will do the rotation based on the item that I have selected. So each one will be rotated as expected. Also, if you notice some of these discs here, they're skewed. Like, they're not all perfectly in a grid. Some of them are slightly rotated 1 or 2 degrees, whatever it may be. And this program auto-detected that, and I didn't have to configure any of that. I'm going to tell it I want TIFFs instead of PDFs, and I'm going to hit scan. Now we can see it's going through and scanning each one individually one at a time, rather than scanning the whole bed and cropping it out. So as you can see here, by default, this is going to my profile/pictures folder. And so if I open that up and explore, I can see all these images that just scanned, and I can just simply double click and open any of them to see a nice high quality version of these scans. And just like that, it was that simple to get all these scans in here. Okay, next up, I want to try one other thing because I've not actually done this yet. I want to go back to that idea of CDs because when I was doing those, I was doing that manually using Photoshop and going to the select acquire Twain source and or Via, whichever one I was using at the time, and went through all those deep menus, preview, scan, and back and forth just to get an image, and then I'd have to export it, save and export and all that fun stuff. Doing that in Photoshop was a pain in the butt. So I want to see how well I can do a CD in here because of the whole rotation thing. Back when I was doing those, since I don't have good alignment of a CD, I'm just looking at the shiny back of it, I'd put it down, hit preview, okay, rotate it a little bit, preview, rotate it a little bit, hit preview, and there's a lot of back and forth. But knowing that this program has good built-in rotation, let's just see if it works. So I'm going to pull out all those floppies, and I can get those organized later. And for this demo, I have Windows NT 4.0, workstation specifically. So let's drop that on there, let's drop that on there, and I'm going to intentionally skew that a little bit. I don't know how much, and I'm just gonna, like last time, hit preview and see what happens. Okay, like before, we can set the rotation in real time while it's scanning. And now we have 2 objects. This one here, the CD itself, it doesn't know the rotation, and that's fine. It got the box perfectly, right? So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to slightly expand this out so we have a little bit of a buffer. And I'm going to just click and drag this, and then you can see the grid here. And if I just overlap, basically I'm just looking at the text at the bottom where it says Windows NT Workstation and then Operating System. And that right there should be nearly perfect. I might need to pull that in just a hair just because it's going over the edge. And now I'm going to hit scan and see what happens. So as you can see, it's scanning it straight normally, but then once it's done scanning, it should pop in the rotation, which we don't get to see there because it hopped over too quickly. But on this one here, we'll be able to see it. So here you can see it's scanning in and it's skewed on the bed, and then it pops it into position. So now let's go back to our folder here. Look at our freshly scanned in Windows NT4 CD-ROM image. And we can see that not 100% perfect, but that is, if we look at the gap here at the bottom with the text, that is almost exactly where it should be. It's less than 1 degree off, and honestly, I think that's good enough. I could sit here and pixel peep this all day long to try to get better alignment, but I don't think anybody looking at an archive of this is going to complain one bit about that fraction of a degree that this disk is now rotated. And that only took me literally a few seconds. You saw that in real time. So anyway, I just wanted to quickly showcase the last little bit of archiving floppy disks and CD-ROMs, so that way if you want to do this yourself in the future, you can go ahead and do that with this software. And you may say like, oh, this software costs money, it's not open source, blah, 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 it's not free. But at the same time, for instance, when I was doing the floppy disk archival project, the Grease Weasel wasn't free either. Quality tools that save you time and do a good service, especially small businesses like this, deserve money. This isn't some big corporate thing like Adobe doing Photoshop. This is faster, easier, simpler than Photoshop for this particular workflow. Anyway, though, that's all I wanted to share, and hopefully I can start getting some more videos out faster to you now that I've done some upgrades around the studio, which will probably be the next video that I get to just talk about and do a studio tour. So stick around and hit that sub button because I want to do a studio tour, and I've been dying to do this for a while now to show you all the cool stuff around here that I'm working on. All right, until next time, later, y'all.